All right, now that the 2020 Toyota Supra has hit the showroom floors, people are taking delivery and actually getting it out in the real world, getting some test numbers. And the question is it the Supra everyone was hoping for? Is it the Supra you were hoping for? My next question is, what is it going to do to the Mark IV Supra's value? We all know some of them have hit 6-digit figures. It's been pretty hard to obtain, but now that there is another Supra, what will happen? We're going to talk about all that in this video, so if you like anything automotive related, including news or just random talk like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification next to it. Now, let's get started with the 2020 Supra. Some are still really upset that there's a BMW drivetrain under there. Alright, let's face the facts, guys. There's been a lot of automotive collaborations in the past, and more so in the future. Toyota's done this before with the 8.6 and the Subaru BRZ. And now they've done it again with BMW and the Supra. Now, Supra has such a cult following, I think that's why everyone has gotten upset about this. But now that time has passed a little bit, people have been able to absorb the new Supra, I think you can finally see how really, really good this car is. 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. The car weighs in at about 3,400 pounds, and advertised horsepower is 335. Now, I know that horsepower number seems kind of low. Everybody was shocked about how low it was when it came out, but this number is very conservative. On the chassis dyno, it put down 337 horsepower and more than 400 pound-feet of torque. I think it was right around 420 actually, give or take. Now, that's at the tires on a 3,400 pound car. That's pretty quick. That's really good numbers. So their advertised numbers at the crank are actually what you're getting at the tires. Now, that racing channel has actually got their hands on the Supra and took it down the quarter-mile track, and it ran a 12.5 at 109. That's pretty damn impressive. 12.5 at 109, completely stock, off the showroom floor, on stock street tires. Now, if you happen to see that video, they did put drag radials on it and run it again, but it actually went slower. They couldn't get the tires to break, so it went like a 12.6, 12.7. 12.5 at 109 stock. That's a great car. That's a good starting point, and it is a turbo car. You can easily turn the boost up a little bit, get more power out of this thing. It's a very tunable car. Toyota has even admitted that they have built the car to be tuned. Now, starting prices of the car is about $50,000 and change. Can go up to $56,000 if you get the launch edition and everything else like that. The interior is where you're going to see the most BMW relation, I guess you can say, because the dashboard, the center, the gear selector, everything that's BMW. It's right out of the Z4. But it's a really, really comfortable interior. That's what makes the car so nice. It's not only sporty, but it's luxurious. Now, I haven't been able to personally drive the car yet, but from what I've heard from those who have, it handles amazingly on the street. It handles even better on the track. And this Supra is by far one of the best sports cars out there today. Now, keep in mind, that is in its class. We're not talking about comparing it to the new C8 Corvette. We're not talking about comparing it to, like, you know, a Porsche 911. In its class, it's the greatest sports car out there right now. Honestly, I was on the fence about it for a while, but the more I see it, the more testing that's done with it, the more I like it. And honestly, I would go out and buy one tomorrow. It took me a little while to get used to the styling, but once I did, I really saw more of the old Supra in it, and I think that really kind of like started to grab me a little bit. So I think it's a really great car, and everyone's going to enjoy it once you're able to drive it. Just, you have to get the Mark IV Supra out of your head here. Now, speaking of the Mark IV Supra, let's compare the two in a little bit. That weight, they're roughly about the same. There's a little bit of, variances, but they're about the same weight class. The Mark IV Supra had 320 horsepower. This one is 335. Now you're going to say, oh my God, they were almost the same horsepower. Like I said earlier, that 335 is at the tires. Now, the Mark IV Supra ran a quarter mile at 13.5 at 106, I believe. This one's running 12.5 at 109. You got a full second off of that car. So, the old Supra, as fast as it was, still not as good as this new one. Now, for the mid-late 90s era when the Mark IV Supra was out, the big thing is 320 horsepower was a lot. Now let's talk about the value of the Mark IV Supra. Now obviously whenever you stop manufacturing a car and it is the last of its kind, the value is going to go through the roof. Obviously that's what happened with the Supra. Fast and Furious movie came out, made it pretty much legendary, and now everybody wanted to get their hands on one. What made this Supra so special was the 2JZ engine. It was damn near bulletproof. You could throw 800 horsepower at this thing and it would hold up. Now, if you have no other successors and you're trying to find a 10, 15-year-old car, and it's hard to do. So you can ask pretty much whatever price you want. So the value kept going up and up and up. And next thing you know, people are paying double what this car was brand new. And here it is, 20 years old, whatever, 100 plus thousand miles. But now there is another Supra. So it would make sense that the value would drop. Let's look at the Camaro, for instance. The last year, a 2002 Camaro came out. They killed it off. And everyone was looking for the last gen Camaros and Trans Ams. So 5 years later, the value is so ridiculously high. I remember people were still asking $25,000 for these cars with 100,000 miles on them, and it was a mass-produced car, more so than the Supra, but they weren't making them anymore. So now, when 2010 rolls around and the next gen Camaro came out, the prices plummeted. Now you can pick those things up for $3,000-$4,000. I foresee this happening with the Supra. As a matter of fact, I already see this happening with the Supra. The new one is out and it is cheaper than the Mark IV Supra's prices. Where I live in Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania area, I've seen Supras, in a 100, 200 mile radius where the price is dropping dramatically. Where it used to be $60,000, $70,000, some people are still asking that, but I'm seeing a lot of really great examples down in the low 30s now. So prices are dropping relatively fast for the Mark IV Supra, and I know that could vary depending on what area you live in. But if you're a purist and you have to have that 2JZ engine, it might be time to start looking into one because the prices are dropping. They're getting more affordable, and we might actually start seeing more of them on the road. Now, that's not to say that there are people aren't going to hold on to them and still ask ridiculous prices because there's not enough of the 2020s on the street yet. Once the 2020s start pumping out, I believe that the prices are going to continue to drop, and there are probably going to be more Mark IV Supra purchases out there. So my question to you is, with the price drop, would you buy a 2020 Toyota Supra or a Mark IV Supra? If they're about in the same price range, which one would you buy? As much as I like the Mark IV Supra, the only way I think I would buy one is if it were significantly cheaper than the 2020. It's newer technology, it's more comfort. The dash on the Mark IV, let's be honest, it is 100% hard plastic. There's nothing nice to touch in that car. Whereas the new 2020 has padded dashes, padded center consoles, everything is soft touch material. You get a smoother ride, faster acceleration. It's just a better car all around. But sometimes newer just doesn't give you that feel. And you know the saying, when you turn a car on, does it return the favor? Sometimes that's all that matters to car guys or girls, not leaving you out. It's the feeling the car gives you when you drive it, and you just can't beat the original. But you know what? Sometimes the reboot is just as good. So let me know down in the comments, guys. Do you like the new Supra? Do you like the old Supra better? What's going on? Let's hear your opinions. Let's start a new conversation on this vehicle. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you do like talking about cars or want all your automotive news, hit that subscribe button right now, and I'll catch you next time.